right, well, welcome back. Let's go ahead and get started, and we'll be able to wrap up the afternoon. But first, for those who guessed where my location might be right now, you all kind of had little bits and pieces of it. So I know Luke said the beach, and Jeremy noticed the fishing rods. Belinda said maybe it was a college building. So I'm actually out at Nantucket Island, getting a little bit of a head start on the holiday weekend here, and out at a friend's beach house, ready to do a little college friend reunion while we're out here. So that's where I am. I'm back. I'm out on the East Coast now. So anyway, what I'd like to do next is introduce our next session. And so what we've got is Jennifer Collins, our NSC chair from Indiana DEM, as well as Donovan Grimwood, the NSC Vice Chair from Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. And I know Jennifer just put a note in the chat about the Google Jamboard. So if you haven't been monitoring the chat, please take a look at the chat. And then Jennifer and Donovan, I'm going to hand over the presentation to you now.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Chris, for this wonderful annual training this year. And it's been a great time to see all these wonderful presentations and get a chance to chat to one another. And we wanted to take this opportunity to have some feedback on, give you some thoughts on our accomplishments over the past year, and then get some feedback from you on what the National Steering Committee should be focused on for the next few years. So I've provided you a Google Jamboard, but I'm also going to share that on the screen here. Hopefully that won't take over your full screen, but I'd like to share that with you. And in case those who are not able to join us on the Jamboard, are you seeing that okay?
Yeah, we're seeing it, Jennifer.
Okay, thanks. I did want to take this moment to, before Donovan goes into some of our accomplishments over the last year. I just wanted to announce that we do have the votes in for our new NSC Vice Chair, and that will be Eric Florio. So from Region 9, and he's helped to coordinate this event this year. So congratulations to Eric, and we will be welcoming him to his new role in DC. And so for those of you that did not know, the National Steering Committee is hosting a strategy session in person next week, and we will be meeting on June 1st through the 3rd in Alexandria, Virginia. And some of us will be there in person, and others will be joining us via Zoom hybridly. So I know Eric will be there with us, and I'm also turning over the reins to Donovan at that meeting. And we will hopefully take some of these ideas that we have from this meeting today and just expand on those and have more time to really dig into what the plan of action is for the work that we're doing from the NSC and the subcommittees. So with that, I'm going to move to the next slide. You'll have a chance here in a moment, if you haven't used Jamboard before, you'll have a chance to put some actual Post-its up here on your thoughts. So, unfortunately, Donovan, I could not get this font any bigger for you. So go, hopefully everybody can read it in person. But if you want to talk about some of our accomplishments, Donovan.
Sure thing, Jennifer, and thank you. And first, I would also like to echo Jennifer's comments that thank you to the annual training team. This has been a great session, and all the subcommittees. And also welcome Eric as the new vice chair. But this past year has been a very active one for us, especially in terms of comments. Just at the end of the year, we put in comments on the chloroethylene dry cleaner rule changes. Belinda in Nebraska in particular had noted that there's some time constraints that really we should request some changes to, because otherwise dry cleaners may not be able to meet those, and we don't want a rule written that cannot be complied with easily, or otherwise drive somebody out of business if they prefer not to comply with it. This actually prompted a great discussion with EPA where we gathered data, and this is actually, I think, one of the strengths of the national program is that something like this comes up, we can ask the states, and in that way we get that detailed information that EPA may need to make educated and informed decisions about rule writing. Because while they do have their locations in the different regional offices, they may still not have the boots on the ground type access that we as state programs may have. Similarly, we also made comments on the 6H miscellaneous surface coating paint stripping. Tony took a lot of lead on that, getting it started, and Belinda again did some great editing on that. And as Rhonda had mentioned earlier, I've been part of the national roundtable for the proposed oil and gas methane reduction rule. Now, admittedly, we haven't sent any comments on that one. That one mostly applied to a few states more than others, and they being experts in that field, we more or less left it to those states to make any comments that they may want to do on that. Something that actually happened just yesterday, and Rhonda sort of alluded to that, is I am actually acting as a helper to small entity representatives for the SBREFA panel on the air emissions reporting requirement. As of yet, I'm not sure where that really will fall in, but I will keep the steering committee up to date on that and share the information I get from that. And I may be relying on the rest of the national program to help review this and give me their thoughts. We met yesterday with David Rosker with the Small Business Administration Office of Advocacy, and he pretty much outlines like, yes, this is absolutely something we want you to do for associations or whatever. Share the information. Now, as a helper, I won't necessarily be making direct comments at this level, but we will be sending in general information. Now, aside from that, we've also been very active in our outreach as well as in our subcommittees. For example, the promotional subcommittee had a really great how-to guide when hosting, marketing, coordinating, or delivering effective webinars. I believe that was multiple people, including Dan Sowery, and that just sort of shows how the different options can be to market your program. Because that's one of the things that we always talk about is like, how do we get our word out? How do we get people to pay attention to us as a service that can help them? So that was a really great webinar. Also, as Nancy had noted, we have formed a new work group, the Environmental Justice Work Group, and that may most likely become a subcommittee. So that's a pretty big change that we had over this past year. And of course, all the subcommittees have been doing great jobs. The technical subcommittee had a great year of different topics, and we had many presentations by EPA wanting to get out information on rules, sometimes to the point where Mark and I had to shuffle around the schedule. And then we've also been working on a lot of different connections. As you can see, we made presentations to the regional area small business liaisons, as well as the NACA. And then we've also made comments and review on that ASBO program guidance that Paula talked about earlier today. So we've had a lot of great connections, and I certainly see us continuing to do that. And there's probably a huge number of things I've forgotten, but that's just how active we've been this year. So before I hand it over to Jennifer, one final plug as I step up to the chair. And I definitely want to thank Jennifer and all the others for leading me into hopefully becoming a good chair to the program, because Jennifer has set a great example to follow. But we're all a team in this, and that's how it should continue. But because of that, I'll be having to step out of the co-chair role on the technical subcommittee. Nobody has yet stepped forward to say they would be willing to take that on and help out Mark. So if anybody's interested, please let Mark and I know. So with that, I'll hand it over to Jennifer as we start developing ideas for what we want to do in the next year. Jennifer needs to be unmuted again. Allison, Abby?
We're working on it.
Thank you. I didn't want to cough in your ear. I've had COVID this past week, so I'm so sorry. All righty. So it's now your opportunity to give us some feedback. So we have, well, like in years past, we have a few questions or focused areas, but we also thought, you know, there might be a little bit more targeted way to approach us. So you'll see on our slides, we have tools that we have to share. So things that we may have created within our state that we could possibly share amongst our fellow SBEEPs, or things that we could possibly share with EPA, or just whatever it is that you may have created. If you haven't used this type of thing before, you pick up a Post-it sticky note and you write whatever you want to write on this. I'm going to put fact sheets here, and once you click save, and I'm going to cancel that, you have a new fact sheet. And just feel free to cover my picture. So I would like to know what tools we have to share with other folks, and maybe you've created something over the past few years that you are able to share and I'm going to go through these, and if you create something, you can move it around just by picking it up and putting it down somewhere else. If we overlap, I'll be rearranging. And for the next slide, tools we need. So things that you are really struggling with, or you need assistance in creating a new tool, or you have just really for a long time needed some assistance in a certain area, feel free to pick up a sticky note and put it on the screen. The next one is technical training that you need. We usually ask this question because it helps our technical subcommittee plan for the year. So if there's specific training that you would like us to look into, please feel free to put your sticky notes on this page for that technical training. And then we created a slide also for programmatic training that's needed. If you are needing some more information about how, like I heard a question today, how does a small business ombudsman work in your state? Or does it need to match the ombudsman role as the national role? So that's a good question. How do other states handle the small business ombudsman role? And maybe that's a good session for us to have for the educational subcommittee to give some training or webinar on. So those are the programmatic pieces that we're looking for. Yes, how to keep your program alive and kicking is a very real one for us here in Indiana as well. So then the last one is, what else do you need from us at the NSC? We are composed of a representative from each region and an alternate. And so we hope to represent your needs in each part of the country. But if there's something that you specifically need that we haven't looked into, please let us know what that is. So I'm going to be looking for your sticky notes here on these screens. And if you're having any trouble getting into the Jamboard, let me know. And I think we're going to give you, let's give you about 5 minutes to go ahead and put some sticky notes up on these, and we'll go through them. So if you have, I'll try to go back to some of the other ones. So just take a few minutes and go in here.
So one of the things I'll also add on to Jennifer's comments about this, and sort of like one of the ideas that I think we had for tools to share, it's like we put a lot of this already up on the national website, but there may be others out there that we're not aware of yet. And in some cases, they may also be tools that you have to share, but also tools that you need at the same time, because we may be able to get either other groups or EPA help in developing them further. And one of the prime examples I was thinking of is the work on the 6H RegNav tool. I know that Tony and the team did a lot of work on that, and that was actually something being developed more or less at a state level for use at EPA. But we could certainly have a good collaboration, because it's a tool we had started developing, but at the same time could have used their help to refine it. And the technical training, certainly some of our standard ideas there, but also think on what Rhonda may have says, like, what are some of the upcoming things that might be of interest to you, or that you feel that we need more training on, so that we can best make comments on or be prepared for when those rules come out.
Keep them coming. Doing a good job. Okay. Got a couple more minutes. Thumbs up.
And also on the what do you need from the NSC, it's like one of the ideas we had for that is the NSC is there sort of a group that's there to provide support to the programs. And yeah, it's a way for certain volunteers in the group to talk about different high level things across the nation and take it down to the region. But that also means it's like that's a prime place. It's like if there's an issue that's come up in your region that we may be able to help with, that's where to let us know. And similar to us working as a team nationwide, sharing these ideas back and forth or how we keep each other strong, as well as find solutions. Because that's pretty much our main job, is find solutions.
Okay. Anybody else got any ideas you want to share? Okay. All righty. Thanks. Okay. We're good? You can keep adding if you'd like. I'm going to try to summarize some of these back here. Go ahead and okay. All right, so tools we have to share. We've got stormwater BMP for Amish sawmills, guide on environmental issues to consider before property transactions. Great one. Have a shout out to Minnesota. I've been using their spreadsheets for rock crushers and abrasive blasting. And is that something we probably already have some reference to that on the national website? So one page fact sheet, environmental compliance checklist by industry, media, or regulatory specific. We've got the RegNav tool with EPA, fact sheets, and niche out videos with EPA. I'm going to call out whoever put those RegNav and niche out videos. Those are things that already exist. Is that what you're saying? If you can chat that or let us know those things exist. Okay, Tony. All righty. And those are tools.
Yeah, at least for some tools and some niche apps. Potentially more could be done.
Okay. So specifically, if you can add a little bit more specifics to those, that might help us to follow up with you on those. And we'll have to figure out how to gather the information. Let's see, marketing experts, videos, website, social media, Spanish language 6H webpage, PTE calculators, fact sheet on stormwater, no exposure certification, and sustainability resources. Okay, let's go. These were tools that we need. So more emission factors for various sources. We could brainstorm a list to send to EPA. Yes, especially with the new air emissions rule talking about. And updated tanks air emission calculator app to replace 4.09. I know we heard that maybe last year or the year before, so it's a good time to follow up on that again.
Jennifer, I
yeah.
want to, that I'm glad somebody put that in there, because I absolutely agree on that, because our state will no longer accept what is up on EPA.
Right. Yeah, I think that's definitely something that we need. Strategic plan. All right, someone's underlining that. Yes. Tools needed, strategic plan for the group or for your agency. Whoever put that up there. Sorry, you didn't know you were gonna, for the group? For the group, okay, cool. Yes, we do. We're gonna work on that. All righty, and these two came up. Air source reduction, P2 for, is that SR source reduction? P2 for emissions and connect with activities for climate adaptation and mitigation. Yes. Okay, moving that down there. So we need guide for small businesses on how to comment on EPA state rules. General simplified EJ map that's statewide. We got that 3 times. So that's, I'm gonna group that over here in the pink section. And that is that for your state, you're asking for your specific state, you need an EJ map. Whoever, I mean, 3 people put that up. Is that what you're looking for, or something that you could be modifying for your state? Specifically for your state? Okay. Okay. I believe we learned about a tool not too long ago about that with for that. So I think Jennifer Dixon, I'm not sure if you were involved in that tool. Belinda Breinbach is looking for a specific EJ map. So we can work on that. The 6H learn is a LMS, learning management system, or am I crazy? LMS, tell me more.
This is Nancy. I'm just going to chime in. That's what I was thinking it was too. I will tell you that EPA recently took their LMS guidance document off their website. And so I don't know what's happening with that. When we went through to check broken links, that one came up and I went to replace it and couldn't find it. So we just removed it.
Okay, so something we can follow up on with EPA possibly. Okay, so hazardous waste determination, regulatory navigation tool, starting with a material, how it is used, and the waste associated with it. Okay, EPA ombuds needs to hear more directly from state SBEEPs on ongoing challenges or constraints in assisting small businesses. And foreign language resources, general wood waste calculator based on board feet production and small business reference databases. And tell me more about that, small business reference databases. Can you explain that more? Whoever put that up there. As in Dun and Bradstreet. Okay, thank you. Thanks for clarifying that. Okay. So you would like access to some of those things for free or for as a group, maybe? Or just to know what they are? Okay. Any clarifying information that you can add to your Post-its would really help us as we move forward. Great, thank you so much. Feel free to add to it because we're going to take these notes to DC with us and look at them when we get there, see how we can address them. So we need your information as specific as possible. All right, excuse me. So we have technical training needed. Tink software on here too. So maybe somebody needs training on the old system, but not sure we can do that at this point. But if you want the new software, we're gonna have to talk to EPA about that. So prep for new rules so we can learn, and then have tools to help affected businesses. Air programs, training specifics, lots of layers for someone without that background, and new to new SBs. Electronic reporting for ACIs using CEDRI. Okay. How to systematically identify and prioritize environmental goals, especially as a business seeks to develop and implement a sustainability and environmental management system with goals. Okay, panel on dealing with nightmare small business clients. NESHAP 6X, training on PTE calculations, AP 42, or finding emission standard calculations. Electronic reporting for 6H, promoting a circular economy through the collection of more than number 1, 2 polymers, post-consumer and or business waste to be integrated into a process to manufacture polymer beads that can be, I don't know, used probably in the next process. So new data regarding the processing. So let me see there, new data regarding the processing, example, extrusion, injection molding of polymers, which vary greatly. Not all polymers are polystyrene, and data regarding emission factors is very limited. Okay, AWMA from 2013. Facility-wide PTE templates, tips and tricks on tracking down spec sheets for pieces of equipment, and including pollution prevention in addition to regulatory assistance. Got it. Oh, somebody else posted refrigeration, how to help with the transition from HCFC, HFC to low global warming potential refrigerants, relative cost and equipment needs. All right. And then programmatic training, connecting CAPs in same regions, how to incorporate EJ considerations into small business assistance, how to establish and build trust relationship between a governmental regulatory agency and or institutions such as the university with a small business who may be reluctant to seek assistance, hoping, and you may want to add another sticky note there if you can finish that thought. Survival 101, how to keep your program alive and kicking, or how to help dying or dead programs in neighboring states. Marketing your program, recruiting and supporting CAP members. And what else do you need from the NSC? So regional rep and alt training. Yes, you got it. That's on the agenda. Working on that. Engaging the RASBL formal mentor program, maybe support from EPA for this. Tell me more about that. Is that for mentoring how SBEEPs one another, mentoring one another? Yes, okay. Checklist, common violations for industry and small business. How can we integrate with national compliance initiatives? Get air curtain incinerators removed as automatic Title V. Push for more EPA involvement. MM2A comments. Fight for survival, more engagement with key stakeholders. Okie dokie. Any other comments? Like I said, if you can go back on your sticky note and actually on the, I think we're going to need your information if you'll provide at least your name on your tools that you're willing to share, or just your state or information, so we can contact you. That would be great. And we definitely want to collect all the tools possible to share with one another. And there was a question I know that came up from Nancy on the foreign language tools, foreign language resources. Which foreign language docs are needed? Can you be specific on those? And they think that they've identified most of the federal public resources out there. So if you have some more clarity on that, please share that with us. Okay, the checklist one. On the tools to share, that should be on the tools needed. Gotcha. Okay. All right, on this tools. This environmental compliance checklist one should be moved. Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? I will move this one. Okay, are there any other questions? So I'm gonna call, let's see, I think it was Belinda Fowler. One thing that you said was a strategic plan for our organization. What do you envision with that? I don't know if you can unmute her or talk more about that.
We have sent Belinda an unmute message.
Okay.
Yeah, while she is working on that, she has put in the chats like looking at ways that we can support each other and set targets.
Okay, great. And are you for industry and small business? Okay, so we as an organization set targets for outreach to industry and small businesses and stakeholder groups. And it's interesting, and we're open to your thoughts on this. And Donovan and I were talking this over earlier this week, where we see the National Steering Committee working in the national organization working is to support the programs in each state. And I think that that's why we came together as a national organization to provide that overarching networking platform and training platform to support the states in that way. And I was saying to him, but I think we're also an advocate for the needs of the program with EPA and other external partners. We also provide a way that we promote ourselves through the national website and through just the networking that we do as chairs and as through the National Steering Committee and other folks that are involved in the committees. So we serve that multi-purpose role, and in a strategic plan, I think that it would be probably 3 prongs, to look, to EPA and to external, and then with internal, and what are the targets in each of those areas. And so I see what you're saying with the industry and small businesses, and how do we focus in that way, and that may be something that each state is trying to do, is drive those certain set targets for connecting with certain small business groups or industries. I'm just wondering how that would work nationally. So we do, and I welcome your feedback, and anyone else that would like to help us with thoughts about a strategic plan. And I think that the session that we're having next week is going to be pretty important for this, transition. I know that we've had opportunities as an NSC to meet in person in the past with after annual trainings, and but I'm not sure that there's ever been a dedicated 2 to 3 day time frame for the NSC to really sit down together and come up with specific action items on where we're going. So I think it's unusual in that way.
Jennifer?
Yeah.
Sorry for the interruption. I echo the things that you're saying, certainly. If it's all right with you, we have unmuted we have allowed people to control their own audio and video. Okay. If they want to raise their hand, and then maybe you can call on them so we don't get people talking over others. But if that's okay, we will go to that. We do have some 67 people on. So if something needs to change and we need to go back, we sure can.
Sure. Yeah, I'd like to open it up for others that have thoughts about anything that we should consider going forward. And feel free to keep adding to this link. It'll be open for you after this presentation. And later on, we'll close it off. Yeah, if you want to go ahead and raise your hand, if you have some thoughts about strategic planning for the national organization, or just thoughts about any one of these areas that you're interested in having more information. I think I can see the hands. I'm sharing the screen, so I'm seeing the participants. Anyone want to chime in? Now you're going to be shy.
I
Okay.
do not see any hands.
Okay, sure. Okay. Well, I will keep looking for information from you all, and feel free to email me or Donovan and or Eric.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, Nancy. So Nancy asked if the EPA compliance inspector checklist is posted somewhere. But yeah, as far as I can tell, that's the only response that we've gotten as a final thing. So.
Okay. Well, Donovan, is there anything you wanted to say?
Okay. So we will take all this information, as Jennifer said, and as the NSCs look over it next week, and maybe we can form a little bit more cohesive strategic plan. Well, form a strategic plan, as Belinda said, because we've always had ideas and a plan in place. But as each of us knows, it keeps changing from year to year, because what's going on changes from year to year. These past several years have been definitely a very interesting change. And I think Jennifer and all of us have really risen to the challenge. So I know Jennifer's had it's been not necessarily difficult, I'd say, but certainly different, and having to work in a different method. So you definitely have done a great job at that, Jennifer, and all of us, because as I tell most of the group that aren't familiar with us, as a network, it becomes a force multiplier. We're not just a program of two, though that's usually how we act. But if it comes up, we have a resource of a few hundred people out there across the nation, and that stands for the same for every program. So if you have that strange question that comes up, ask it. If you have that concern that comes up, ask it. Whether it's just to Eric and I, or Jennifer, or any of the NSC, or if it's a more technical question across the nation, definitely feel free to ask it. So Polly, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I was curious. So you guys are talking about the strategic plan, right? And things that you may want to add to that.
Okay.
Is that right? Okay.
Yep.
So I was just wondering, and I think maybe a good thing to think about, or at least for my needs, would be, I know the topic or the question about doing state audits of the programs, and I'm assuming that maybe is of interest, but I think that would be really helpful for me to know, as I've shared, like now that I've kind of thought about it a little bit more over the last few minutes, I was like, yeah, we did talk about doing some sort of auditing. And I think, for me, I'm trying to kind of get things more situated here internally at EPA. I already have really great information about a good sense over how things are going generally across the nation with the different programs. But I do want to be open to like revisiting that idea of doing a state audit, like picking a couple different states and looking more closely to get that information, because that is going to be super helpful for me to be able to put together some sort of reports. So I just want to throw that out there, that that's something I'm not opposed to, and I think that could be really helpful. But I would love to get more guidance from you all, because it would be something that would have to be self-driven from you all in the states to want to dive in a little bit deeper. And I know sometimes that's not always comfortable for some state folks, that maybe that's a sensitive issue. So just throwing that out there, that that's not off the table, that getting that more detailed information might actually be really helpful. And that could help me in my reporting or advisory opinions that I will be developing in the future.
Yeah, I think that the conversations, I think that there was an informal component of what you were talking about, and having those individual conversations with states on what the challenges were in their state, and just that's a way that you can advocate for us and to draw attention to the problems that need funding, or or some sort of technical resource or whatever it is. And I think that that's something that hasn't been done with our annual report, because we try to highlight all of our accomplishments and all of our successes in various areas. And as you've said before, it's really, that's nice in some circumstances, but it also doesn't help when you're trying to prove a point that there's a need. And so it is important for us to say what our needs are.
Exactly. Yeah, I know I kind of offline shooted you a chat about, I know those promotional reports are awesome, and I know they really help you all perhaps in the States kind of share that. But I was saying to Jennifer that internally, say that anniversary 20-year report doesn't get as much traction or visibility within EPA senior leadership. It's a like, oh, that's nice. They won't really read it. I mean, everybody's so busy, right? So, the challenge for me is, as a federal program, in terms of gathering more information, we have limitations on how we can do that. So I just want to, it'd have to be somewhat self-driven, as like a state that wants to be kind of offering some of that more additional information voluntarily, rather than me seeking that from everybody, because then that goes into a whole nother process. But anyway, so I would love to talk more about that. I don't want to take that off the table. I'm open to that.
Thanks for your comments. Does anyone else have any comments?
So, sort of speaking comments, since we're sort of doing more general discussion and such, Allison, do you want to go ahead and maybe stop recording? One person did mention that it might encourage more discussion.